listening to Indus here on BBC Radio Manchester and BBC Radio Lancashire. So, have you been celebrating Vaisakhi this week? Well, one Sikh group is saying more youngsters are showing an interest in their faith. Basics of Sikhi believes it is because of groups like it which have online explanations of the religion in English, and it thinks some will take their interest one step further and get baptised over the Vaisakhi period, the birth of the Sikh Brotherhood. Well, earlier this week, the BBC's Gurvinder Gill found out more just ahead of Vaisakhi.
Gurdwaras or Sikh temples across the country are getting ready for Vaisakhi. Some will be holding a religious parade called a Nagar Kirtan through their neighbourhood to mark the birth of Khalsa, or the Sikh Brotherhood. For 20-year-old Mankamal Singh, this year will be extra special.
As you follow Sikhi, you want to progress more and more, and I've got to the point now where I'm thinking I'm sort of doing the things I need to do. I haven't really got many distractions away from Amrit, so that's the reason I want to receive Amrit.
This Vaisakhi, Manveer hopes to get baptised. He'll do that by taking blessed water called Amrit in a special ceremony. During it, Manveer will promise never to cut his hair, to smoke or to drink alcohol. He'll also vow to always wear the 5 Ks at all times. There are 5 things starting with the letter K, such as Ganga, which is a small comb, or Gara, which is a bangle.
I'll be doing my prayers every day. I'll be waking up like before the afternoon. I'll actually be waking up on time in the morning to do those prayers, and just in general just keeping that sort of strict lifestyle.
The Sikh PA, an organisation covering Sikh issues, says it's seen more young people taking an interest in their faith and taking Amrit.
When Guru Gobind Singh Ji got up on that stage and said, "I want a Sikh to give me their head,"
this increase could be down to videos like this.
Jinko lagi pyas, Amrit se hi khaye. Only those people who are thirsty for it, they should take Amrit.
It's from a group called Basics of Sikhi. They have online sermons in English translating scriptures from the Sikh holy book, the Guru Granth Sahib, for all to understand. Baljeet Singh is from the group.
First of all, it's the day that the first ever Amrit Sanchar took place.
He says the festival has a deeper meaning that people may not be aware of.
Where Guru Gobind Singh Ji Padshah Ji, they was actually called out 5 times asking for a head each time. A lot of people probably thought literally for a head, or like, what, is this some sort of game? What is Maharaj going to do? But a Sikh is somebody that is a follower that completely surrenders and gives himself to his Guru. So that's what Vaisakhi represents. That's what is to saying that I'm going to sacrifice myself for my Guru now.
Baljeet says he's also seen an increase in the number of people wanting to know more about their faith.
Translating Gurbani into English and talking about our history at a level and in a language that most people in our youth can understand today. The youth are getting to hear about Sikhi at a level of their actual understanding. Why wouldn't they be inspired?
And Manveer says many of his friends are also taking an interest.
I have friends who used to drink, used to do all that, and they found that on this path, even though a lot of them haven't taken Amrit, they find a lot more bliss from this path than they would have found at the bottom of a bottle.
That's the BBC's Gurvinder Gill there, talking to Sikhs about taking Amrit, and that was just ahead of Vaisakhi. Well, joining me now is Mankamal Singh. He's a committee member of the Singh Sabha in East London and also involved with a number of Gurudwaras as well. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
How are you? You all right?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Happy Vaisakhi Festival.
Thank you very much.
So you say there's an increase in the number of young Sikhs being baptised and getting involved in the Sikh faith. And we've heard some of that from individuals in that package there. But what about your experience? Is that the case?
No, absolutely. I mean, certainly, over the years, what I've noticed being involved in the Gurdwaras is an increase in younger people taking an interest in their faith. And I'll put that down to several factors. I mean, technological advancements, so, in terms of the social media, in terms of software, in terms of the actual TV media as well, having Sikh channels, all these things have helped gain a wider audience and certainly fill a gap which many people felt existed before, where they can sort of understand, they can get translations, and they can understand what Gurbani is all about to a level and an approach that they are familiar with. And secondly, I think also it does boil down to, I think there's always a search for cultural identity, especially as a British Asian. You know, I can certainly identify with that, and I struggled throughout my life actually trying to find that kind of identity. And I think many young people are now finding that kind of identity within Sikh values, and they find that the values that they've grown up with in school, for instance, and they've learned in a tolerant society, when they start learning more about Sikhism and the history of Sikhism and what it actually represents, I think they can align to that quite strongly. And that's also helped a lot of young people feel that this is the path for them.
Do you think, Mankamal, sometimes, I mean, I don't know, this is just an observation, but do you think when they look at society around them and they feel they perhaps don't have anything really in common and therefore turn to their faith or their culture as a result? Because, you know, I mean, they are two different things, isn't it? Sort of a Western lifestyle and a sort of a cultural Punjabi Sikh lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that, but they're also quite intertwined, I think, as well. And I think you can't escape the fact that you're born in within a culture that's quite blended. So I think, in all honesty, I think younger people always struggle for an identity. They always want to find an identity. They'll find it through music. They'll find it through different genres. And some people find it through spirituality, and they find that's an identity in itself, and that guides them and helps them as well, and gives them sort of some kind of moral support. So I think many young people have that thirst, and I think when people find that thirst within faith, then it works better for them.
Now, do you know whether there's a pattern of people turning to their faith or rediscovering their faith in different regions across the UK? You're based in London, but what about the Northwest? I mean, is it the same sort of feeling going on over here that people are rediscovering their faith and taking Amrit?
I think so. I mean, and from an anecdotal basis, what I've seen and what I've observed, certainly when I took Amrit, was involved in the ceremony back in 2004. I was 30 at the time. It may seem old to some people, but actually, when I was in that ceremony, there were 8 of us. I remember clearly 8 of us in that ceremony who were taking Amrit that day. And I was the youngest, and the second probably oldest to me would have been in their 60s. So, at that time, it was very different. But now, in our Gurdwara, for instance, we've had a demand for the Amrit ceremony, and we've done 3 this year. And certainly in some of those cases, I would say that 50% of the people who are taking Amrit are young people. They're in their late teens, 20s, and maybe early 30s as well. And that's certainly a change to what used to be the case in the past, where it would just be older people who were sort of, I wouldn't want to say the word, but winding down in life a bit and perhaps searching for some kind of sort of security and support in their later years of life. So that has changed, definitely.
I think that happens across all the different faiths, doesn't it? Come a certain stage in your life where you sort of turn towards God. But what actually goes on when someone is taking Amrit or becoming baptized, is want for a better word?
Yeah, I mean,
what's the process?
Baptized is probably, it's probably the only word we can think of.
I know, that's exactly.
And the ceremony itself, it's probably different to baptism, because baptism in a Christian sense is an almost compulsory expectation if you're going to follow the faith. But within Sikhism, Sikhi, the Amrit is an initiation, and it's initiation into a way, a framework, a way of life that implements the Guru's teachings. And that way of life changes for an individual. So it's about, staying away from alcohol and tobacco and drugs. It's about getting up early. It's about praying. It's about focusing your life towards a more ethical, moral way of living. Wearing the 5Ks, as your report talked about. I mean, that's also a way of sort of living within parameters and living within boundaries for a more moral and ethical way of life, and to enhance your spirituality and get closer to God by implementing the Guru's teachings. So it is a way of living, and that the Amrit ceremony is an initiation into that way of living.
Right. And do you have people, I mean, I don't know, after they've taken Amrit and decide that it's not for them and can you reverse it? What's the ruling?
Yeah, I mean, it happens. You know, people struggle, and over the years, I've seen people come and take Amrit, and they may struggle later on in life, and the evolution of thought, the circumstances or whatever, they may feel that they may not be aligned with that or comfortable with that lifestyle, or certain circumstances that they can't carry out that lifestyle. So I mean, some people do leave, and then some people come back again as well. So it's a journey of life, really. And I can only speak for myself. I've been an Amritari, as we call it, for just over 10 years. So certainly, faced many challenges internally and externally. And it's just about getting along with those challenges, and trying to overcome those challenges, and trying to get on with life, really.
And that's, I suppose, with faith, isn't it? You go through dips. Some months or years you're doing fine, and other times you'll have a bit of a dip in your faith. And but that's the nature of things sometimes. Mankamal, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks very much. There you go. That's Mankamal Singh talking about the number of youngsters now interested in their faith in Sikhism and taking Amrit as well.